Hi, and welcome to this 5th lesson in this series of 7 lessons on practicing better in the practice room. Thanks for joining me, and if you've been with me since the beginning here, thanks for sticking with it. If you haven't already downloaded the PDF, if you're just joining me for the first time, my name is Clay from thecello.online, and there is a free PDF download to accompany all these lessons, so I hope that you'll go check that out on the website. And bringing this to you so that you can get an idea of what the website has to offer here in terms of supplements and learning and to help you on your cello journey. So in this 5th lesson, we're going to talk about something that is really important, which is using the diagnostic tools that we have at our disposal, and 2 specifically. And those are metronome, yes, and a tuner or drone pitch, right? And I usually go for the drone pitch. I don't usually go for just looking at a visual needle on a tuner. Okay. We should solve intonation orally, all right, with sound. All right, we're going to talk about that here in a second. And why do I call these diagnostic tools? Well, because when we're using them, and hopefully we're using them correctly, we're making decisions about what to do next based on what we find out with the tool, right? And these 2 things tell us 2 very specific, very focus things. The drone pitch tells us if the frequency was sharp or flat or in tune, right? And the metronome deals with the timing and the rhythm. Did we play something too fast? Are we playing it slow enough? Are we keeping it steady? It tells us that one something, okay, about our playing, right? And we're not always so great about using it, and we're not always so great about using them in the right way. All right, so let me help here. I'm going to go back here. If you've been following me, I've been using the same examples here, the end of book 3 and the end of book 5. So I'm going to go back to the Bach, the Allegro Moderato, and back to the Goldterman here. Let's go with the Bach first. So let's put it on, we're in G major. There's 2 schools of thought about drone pitch here, and that is either to be on the key or to be on an A. To be in the keynote, in G major, or to be in an A since we tuned to A. I'm going to go with G since we're in G major here. So I'm listening to the drone. My first finger, right, was a little sharp there. Now, this is the important part about using a diagnostic tool. First, we got to get the thing out and turn it on, right? And I see with students all the time, did you use a drone pitch? No. Did you get it out? No. Okay. All right. And then if we do get it out, as I did so often in college, is we're just playing along and letting it bounce us back and forth, right? Like those bumpers that keep your ball in the lane when you're a little kid at the bowling alley. We have to stop and make a decision. Oh, my first finger was sharp. I have to do it again. All right, back to that previous lesson. All right, if you haven't seen a lesson on being proactive, this is definitely a time when we have to be proactive after we get the information from the diagnosis, right? Remember, this is like a stethoscope, okay? You are still the doctor. You have to make the diagnosis and decide what's going to happen next, all right, from that diagnosis. So I have diagnosed that my first finger is going sharp. So let's go back again here. I might have overcompensated. And that's using a drone pitch. This is a very important diagnostic tool. One that I wish was a little easier to use, actually, is recording whatever you're playing on a piano. Okay, that's also a pitch diagnostic way of fixing your intonation, but that one's not always so easy to do. But if you do have access to it, I would say use it. All right, and you have piano skills, and you can record something to play along to because the pitch of the piano is so constant and so steady. All right. The other thing, of course, is the metronome, right? We turn the metronome on, or maybe we don't turn the metronome on. Again, students coming in all the time, not turning it on. Let's go to the Goldterman. Back to these triplets. I love these triplets down here. Now, of course, the metronome has to do with rhythm and timing, right? We use it to improve our rhythm. Are we playing too slow? Are we playing too fast? Are we playing just right? And that's, usually what we're thinking about. And a lot of times we'll say, oh, my rhythm's fine. I have a good sense of rhythm. I don't need to turn the metronome on. Well, there's other reasons to turn it on. Yes, it's a diagnostic tool to tell us all those things, but there's also a great reason to turn it on in that it just helps my practice be more efficient, right? If I'm doing everything within this parameter, doing it the same way every time, I'm going to be much more efficient, okay, in the practice room. And probably I'm not playing it so perfectly each and every time. For example, on this Gulterman here, let me get set up. With so many slurred string crossings, okay, the metronome is really revealing, right? I have just diagnosed that my slurs and my string crossings are not quite as even as I thought they were. Yes. And am I getting back to slow version? We talked about slow version there in the third lesson. Yes. Am I keeping all these notes nice and long? Okay. Am I keeping them slurred with the metronome, right? So if I went like this, all right, like played them short, right? I stayed with the metronome, but I didn't play Gulterman Concerto. I didn't play what's that measure 176. I got to keep it slurred. All right, to use the metronome correctly, to let it keep me in place, to let it diagnose what I am doing, okay, and help fix what I am doing, okay, correctly. And here's where I'll interject that, some of these things do overlap, yes? So sometimes getting out the metronome, getting out the drum pitch, means that I got to be a more proactive practicer, which we talked about earlier there in the last lesson, all right? So sometimes I think, oh, my pitch is fine, or my rhythm is fine, just like on all these slurred string crossings here in the concerto. I have to be proactive and say, maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there's something that I haven't discovered. These things will diagnose, okay, all right, uncover, right, things that you didn't know were going wrong. But I got to get them out. It's up to me as a student to get them out and turn them on and use them, all right? In the next lesson, we're going to talk about getting feedback. What does that mean to get feedback, and why it's so important that we get feedback from others and from the tools that we have.